how many people are there that are living their lives still thinking about that one person, and that one person is still thinking about them?
She was my first love, but I can replace her. For those who wanted us to fail, we wanted to prove them wrong. Thought about or even wanted to cheat.
And
There was a little bit of sadness.
I was sad. Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Heart Talks.
Welcome, guys. We are happy to have you here. We are delighted to share with you in another episode on Unfiltered Heart Talks.
Today, we will be sharing my favorite story, and I believe it's your favorite story as well.
Yes.
What's that story, love?
Our love story.
Our love story. We're going to get into all the details from how we met, who we were even before we met, and what happened during, after, and where we are right now. So we're going to start off. Who were you before we got together? It doesn't have to be years before, but like while you were in your single era before we got into a relationship, who were you as an individual?
Okay, who was I? I was, well, before we met, I had gotten baptized in 2009, and I believe that was an amazing period in my life. A period where I was into that spiritual phase where I was trying to find someone that I could potentially see as my wife, as a life partner.
Yes.
And of course, I was dating within the context as the church has it. Dating is just getting to know people. And that's exactly what I was doing. But it came a point where I practically wasn't dating anyone. And I was just being this nice young Christian guy who goes to church. I was very, very active. I was doing all that stuff until I got to Victor Dixon High School. And yeah.
Yeah. Me, grew up in the church, as we all say. Grew up in the church, went to private schools most of my life, and I was just, the average schoolgirl, participating in school activities, very reserved, very structured life, So that was practically who I was during that time. And then we met. You enrolled at the school that I was attending.
Yeah.
And you were the new guy.
Yeah.
In the upper form. How was that for you?
Well, that was my second high school.
Okay.
Because I was such a bad child. I was just involved in so many wrong things before I became a Christian.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that near-death experience brought me to Christ. And from that, I was introduced to Victor Dixon High School. And I heard it was a very, very good spiritual private school. So I said, wow, that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
So when I came to Victor Dixon, I remember I had my first interview, man, with Mr. McLean. Shout out to Mr. McLean, wherever you are. And I learned so much from Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Mr. McLean was just this gentleman. He walks around, hands behind his back, standing tall, looking up. And one of the things that I admire the most about Mr. McLean, that he was very, very respectful, even to us as students.
Yes.
And when he spoke to us, it was Mr. and Mrs.,
Ooh.
And I really, really admired that. And I was there. The experience was wonderful. I was happy to be back in school because when I had gotten out of school, when I had graduated from my first high school, I could not find a public school that would have taken me back. And so Victor Dixon High School was like a safe haven. But I think that, God just worked it out in such an amazing way to the point where I ended up at Victor Dixon High School. Because at Victor Dixon High School, so many things happened that practically gave my life new meaning and put me on a new path and placed my life on a trajectory that made me who I am today.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. I could just listen to you. I'm so enamored by you. So I'm just backtracking in my mind and
How
thinking
was
about
it for
everything.
you?
For me, while at
And you
Victor
got there in
Dixon,
grade 7, right?
yes. I got there in the 7th grade, first form. It was a beautiful place for me. I felt safe there. It was good to know that the teachers that were there really truly cared about the students that they interacted with daily.
Right.
Because I had been coming from a public high school before. I spent one semester at a public high school and I loathed it. I just really loathed it. So when I got to that school, I felt community. I felt as though I was in a place where growth could be fostered.
Right. Right.
It fostered my growth and development, not just physically and academically, but spiritually.
Right. And that's one of the things that I liked about Victor Dixon High School. The spiritual growth that it fostered was really, really amazing and something that you would not necessarily find at a public high school.
That's right.
And the fact that it was a small private high school, not a lot of students, and it was so educationally driven. It was so focused on the students' educational journey to the point where it was not necessarily like you were nurtured, but you were nurtured in such a way where you were pushed and you were pushed hard. You were challenged to become a better person, to be more educated. And if you weren't, then there would have been not necessarily consequences, but you had what they call merit reading, you know. And when that was being done, no one wanted to be in a position where your merits would have been read out in the entire devotion and you would get like 1 or 2 merits. So for me, being there, I wanted to ensure that my merits were within the 16 range, 14, 15, 16 range. And that way it shows that I was doing exceptionally well in all my courses, you know. But apart from the educational aspect and the time that we spent in high school, what else at Victor Dixon High School was very intriguing for you and excited you?
I would say significance. The significance of at least my 3rd year there was the fact that I met you. We met each other.
Okay. Okay.
I was in my 3rd year. You're in your 4th year. You were a year ahead of me, or a grade ahead of me.
Right.
And I knew that there was this new guy at school, along with other students that came that semester. And I remember I didn't know much about you, but I knew that a friend of mine was so into you, would miss so much of everything just to, stop by and peek at you or just talk about you and everything. And that was one thing. But I didn't know you. I didn't know you. So what do you remember?
Well, I think the best part of my high school, Victor Dixon High School, was the relationship that we shared.
Oh.
Having met you and everything that happened afterwards. And I remember getting there, neat, nice, clean, fresh. I used to work out and stuff, so I felt pretty good. And not only that, I was very, very spiritual. I was a spiritual young man, and like God was everything to me. So being there, I wasn't really searching for a girlfriend. I wasn't in any relationship for a whole year, and so when I saw you, you were so beautiful. When I saw you for the first time, and I was like, wow, she's really, really beautiful. And I wanted to get to know you so much. I wanted that opportunity to just find a moment to have a conversation with you But as you mentioned, that your friend liked me, and I didn't know how to, because you guys were close, and I didn't know how to navigate my way through letting her know that I'm actually not interested in you. I'm interested in your friend, which was you.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge.
And there was never any relationship, right?
Right. There was no relationship. There was nothing happening. I just knew that she liked me. So then I don't remember what we used to be a part of. We used to be a part of a group.
Was it choir?
I don't know if we were in choir together.
There was a Bible quiz
There was the Bible
competition.
quiz competition, and I was a part of that. But we were involved in some group that
Trying to remember.
I think it was maybe it was the Bible quiz.
It could
But
be.
that whatever we were involved in, it brought us closer together, and ever so often we would meet in the pastor's office for that group meeting. And I remember one evening being inside that room with you, and I wanted to talk to you so badly, but I just didn't know how to go about it. So I went home and I prayed, and I said, God, I need to talk to her. I want to get to know her. She's very beautiful. And I prayed, and I just devised a plan as to how I'm going to just go and talk to you the next day.
So you wanted to find a way.
I needed to find a way
Okay.
to be able to tell you how I really felt. And so I devised a plan and went back to school the next day. The evening came, we were back in Bible class. I said, boom, this is my moment. So I saw you. The pastor had stepped out. I said, this is a perfect time. And I came up to you. I said, can I have a conversation with you outside? And he said, sure. I said,
I was
okay.
upstairs.
That was upstairs because I didn't know if you liked me. And the truth is, I don't think at that time there was ever a moment in my life when I was ever rejected by a female. So I didn't even know how to handle rejection. But being baptized, being a Christian young man during that period, it was completely new for me. It was like relearning what dating was and what it is and what it should be like. So everything was new, and I said, okay, I'm gonna talk to her, shoot my shot. If it drops in the hoop, then so be it.
Yeah.
So we were outside, and I introduced myself to you. I remember this story like it was yesterday. So I introduced myself to you, and I told you that I liked you. And your response was what? You felt
The same.
the same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That for me was amazing to hear. I was like, wow, she actually likes me because you were so beautiful in high school. And I'm saying, well, there's no way this girl. But I never necessarily doubted myself because I know I'm an handsome guy too.
Yeah.
But of course, you were very, very beautiful, very attractive. And when you said that, it was really heartwarming. How did you feel about when I told you
Ooh.
that I liked you?
Well, for me, I just let me even create the setting because I have to create the setting. It was dark upstairs because light went out,
Wow.
and we we journeyed from the pastor's office, and he had the conversation with me right there in the passageway. I think people were still around. It was still school hours, and we had that discussion, and I told you that my sentiments are the same. I shared those sentiments. And I remember feeling good. That's nice. My first boyfriend. You know, Not only that, but then I also felt a tinge of weirdness because I'm like, oh God,
Oh, yeah.
how are we
Yeah.
gonna break
Yeah.
the news?
Yeah.
Or like, what's gonna happen? I'm not losing my best friend, because and the good thing is, the beautiful thing about this is, even though I felt happy and I shared those sentiments, there's this heaviness because I did not know what to expect should we come out with this news that you like me and I like you and you didn't like her? But that was something that we were already discussing like head on. I'm like, well, my friend likes you, so what's gonna happen there? So
Right.
how did we handle that? Did you eventually said something?
I think I told you, I said to you, so it was a discussion. So how am I gonna, so since you like me and I like you, how are we gonna go about telling your friend that I'm not into her? And I don't remember. I think that we both had the time to talk to her.
Yeah.
And I told her
Whether it was
that,
individually or
yeah, I don't, I
together.
think, I don't remember exactly how that story ended, but I remember that, she got the news and she understood. She actually took it very well, and she was very, very supportive of
Yeah.
our relationship.
Yeah. She was sad for a while though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
But
It wasn't like there was
a
a
relationship between you
relationship.
two.
It was
Yeah.
never. We never had that a conversation about she liking me, I liking her. So it was like, okay, it's your friend, but I like you. So it is what it is.
So here we are. We've established that we both like each other,
Hmm.
and we're doing very well academically.
We were doing very well
Yes,
academically.
and now we decide, okay, I like you, you like me. Let's be
Boyfriend
and
and girlfriend.
girlfriend, right? And what was it like? What feedback did we receive? What happened from that first conversation to the establishment in everybody's minds that yes, these two are together? That you can remember, and I'll share my thoughts as well.
So our relationship was, well, we were both two mature individuals. And of course, maturity comes in stages, because sometimes people think that, oh, he's mature, she's mature. It doesn't mean that you're mature to handle everything. But within high school, at that moment of our life, we were two mature young people. And of course, our relationship portrayed that level of maturity. On campus, we were always very, very appropriate in what we do, how we acted. And our relationship was respected by peers and teachers alike. Everybody respected what we share and how we conducted ourselves as a young couple. So, yeah.
I just remember during our relationship, like I'm thinking about the sentiments and the feelings that I had during our relationship. And for one, I felt very safe. I felt like I could be myself. I didn't feel like our relationship affected my academics in any way, which is what anybody would be concerned about. Is this relationship going to help or hinder me? So it was all green lights there. Everyone knew that we were together, and respected that. They understood it. And as you said, quite well, we commanded respect because we weren't gallivanting like the typical. And also, I remember when we were just being friends, talking, I like you, you like me, let's be friends. And then after a while, we decided, okay, this is going to be a relationship. And I introduced you to my mom and my dad.
I remember the very first place I was introduced to my now mother, and rightfully so. you know, was at NCU. I remember the exact place where I met her, and it's such an amazing thing. Like, mommy took me as her very own son, and the relationship that we share up to this point is one that is separate outside of what we have.
Yes.
She takes me as her son. I call her mommy, and I've been calling her mommy from ever since. And, even amidst our separation, which we will get to eventually,
Yeah.
that relationship between us, mother and son, still continued right throughout. Of course, she gave us the very best advice that any human being could give to two young people. And she has always had our best interests at heart.
That's true.
You know,
And you know what I love? The fact that it's amazing when you have somebody completely invested in you as an individual. So I believe that she was just as invested in you as she was in me. She was never biased about anything, and she loves and cares for you as she would her own son. You know, so that was a beautiful thing, and she always gave good advice, as you said.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that I introduced you to her because she has really been a tower in a relationship.
Yes,
she has been a voice of wisdom to us, and I'm grateful for her. And eventually I met your family. You met
Yes.
mine. Everybody loved you.
Yes.
Your side of the family, you know, loved me. And
It was like we were all one big happy family.
Exactly. You know, even sometimes when I share some of the stuff that Chev and I have gone through or done or places we've been, you're like, our family was that close.
Like I'm saying, what? Our family did that?
Yeah, our family was that close. I
Your
didn't
family
know.
was
Yeah.
really close.
Yeah.
Way closer than I think.
Yes.
Or than I thought.
Yeah. So and that level of community that we had around us, I believe, was one of the reasons that our relationship could so thrive. You know,
Yes,
not only the
yes.
mental space that we were in as Christians, young Christians, but also the support of our community, our parents, or extended family. Because my aunts loved you, they still love you. It's almost surreal because you don't find that often. A lot of people complain about in-laws and not liking this and not liking that, and people not getting along. Maybe that's one of the reasons a lot of marriages aren't working, because if you have everybody in harmony, then that relationship will be in a good place to actually thrive. But that's just how I feel about that.
But there's 2 points that I want to make reference to. One, the community that we had in the form of our family that supported what we have. And as a result, we we lived our life in such a way where our Christian character would always be portrayed first. And of course, for those who wanted us to fail, we wanted to prove them wrong. And for those who wanted the best for us, we wanted to ensure that we did not disappoint them. You talk about family support in relationship. That's very, very important to the growth and development of any relationship.
Yes.
It does a relationship well when families are invested and they are a part of the developmental process, especially at that young teenage years, late teen years. The second thing is, while you want your family to support what you have, there are boundaries.
Yes.
And there are certain things that, you know, we don't share with our families, even at that young age. We learn from a very young age that we protect each other. And there are certain things that we wouldn't share, as well as there are certain things that we wouldn't allow our families to get involved in. We made our decisions based on and how we saw it. And the truth is, not all the time those decisions were the best decisions. But we still maintained our individuality, and that is very important in any relationship.
Oh my.
There should be boundaries.
Yes.
And what you allowed.
That's amazing. So how did you feel? Like, what were your, I know we touch on it a little bit, but what were your sentiments and your feelings during the relationship?
I felt happy. I felt love. Coming from a single parent household where the father is not in the home, thank God for how I turned out. But my father was never in the home. My mother was present, but she was not, because she was always on the hustle, you know. So I practically was grown by my sister and the community. Thank God for the community at that time. So being in a relationship with someone where you are accepted by her entire family and embraced and loved, it felt so amazing. And not only that, I was experiencing motherly love from mommy. And that for me was a huge deal. It felt so amazing. Like, I'm saying, oh my God. And I remember there was one point I shared with her that my first time of experience, and mommy, I mean nothing by this. If you ever watch this, I mean nothing by this. But I said to her that the first time in my life when I've experienced true motherly love, when I experienced how a son should be embraced by his mother, was from her. And it felt so amazing. So I felt amazing to be a part of your family. I never felt for a second like I was an outcast, or that I was a visitor or anything. I just felt like I was a part of
Part
your
of the
family.
family.
And I love that, you know.
Yeah.
And that also shaped my view of how I wanted my relationship to be with you. Then after everything, you know, relationship was going well, and then we had a huge fight that led to a 13-year separation.
You think so? Well, I remember you went off to university and I was still in high school, my senior year of high school. And I just felt in my heart, I was like, there's no way he's going to be faithful. There's no way he's going to be faithful to me because he's gone off to college. There are these myriads of females from all over the world attending Northern Caribbean University. And he's not going to remember me.
Shout out to NCU.
He's not going to remember me. And I felt a lot of insecurity at your absence. I felt scared too because I felt very safe while you were there. Not that, it was a hostile environment, but I felt so sheltered in your presence. So
What was that like after I left?
it was new. It was new because finally I was in the upper grade. That means that we'd have lunch at the same time and we could have lunch. And then as soon as that semester passed, you're gone and I'm just back to, it's
being
just
all by
me.
yourself.
Just me.
Yeah.
Not all by myself. I had friends. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. But,
So, so I had this great feeling inside of, oh, he's gonna see other girls up there, he's not gonna want me. It's just better if things are just done right now because I can't bother with the heartache and the heartbreak. So how was it for you? Were you actually seeing other people there? How was life on campus as a freshman?
My university years started off in an unfortunate way.
Way. Okay.
So yeah, my university years started off in an unfortunate way. Of course, I wanted to enter into university, being in my relationship, being with the woman I loved, the woman I was planning to have kids with. We didn't even talk about the fact that we used to sit down, plan for our kids,
and also
give names, everything.
Yeah, we used to, we had during our relationship we planned that we wanted to have two children, a boy and a girl, preferably at the same time. We named them, Gideon and Charisma. And
I think mommy gave
the middle name.
Mommy gave the middle name.
Yeah. So
but it was crazy.
Yeah, we had plans for our children. And you didn't even mention, your reputation was so top tier everywhere you went that your nickname was what?
Pastor. Everybody called me Pastor. And it took me, that name followed me around for years. Even in my adult life, people still call me pastor, because, yeah. But as I was mentioning, my university years started off, unfortunately, because, of course, our relationship meant so much for me. Um, and so when I started university, I was excited. I wanted to be there and having my relationship.
Yes.
But I remember, when you were having your doubts, I took you on campus and said, let's go. Let me show you that, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to be a faithful boyfriend. And I took you there and you were like, oh my God, I can't do this. you were, you freaked out. You freaked out. And it was a wrap. You were like, oh my God, I can't do this. I
Oh,
can't do
really?
this.
That bad.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's best if we separate. You just do you and
I
I
don't
do
know
me.
where that seed came into my mind. Maybe
Yeah, it was crazy because
because we were doing fine.
we were doing fine. Of course, we were teens and we would have our moments when
Yes, every relationship
yeah,
has.
but we were doing very fine. And I was like, man, I made a mistake of taking you on campus. But the thing about me is that, number one, I was very spiritual in high school. And you knew, because that's how you met me. And I think that is how I gained the respect that I had. Wasn't because I was just a believer in Jesus Christ and a Christian at that. It was because my conduct was in line with what I believe, what I teach. And so I practiced that.
Yeah.
And I was respected by teachers and peers, for that very reason. And I took my Christianity very, very seriously. To the point when I went to university, I went there to study pastoral ministry.
Yes.
Right? So I just didn't understand why you thought at the time that I would, go there to be dating around with girls. I wasn't even thinking about that.
It's just a childish insecurity.
Mhm.
You are. I looked at it like this. Okay, when you were at high school, this is a small bowl. You found your fish, right? Me, you found your goldfish. At least
Why
let me
for
say.
that? No fish, Rasta. No fish.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
All right.
Wait, you found you
Cut.
found no, we keep
I'm
it that.
joking, guys.
All right, you're in this pond, right?
No.
And
When I like,
all right,
when I like
all
the
right,
fun.
we're in this area,
Right.
in this small area, right? And they're beautiful ladies, but you chose one, and it's a small pot. Now it's like going from a small area where you'd had a little to choose from, and then you're going to a big area where you have a myriad of selections, like a buffet versus like a one meal. And I felt like, oh dear, there are Indians there, there are Americans there, there are all these people, there are all these different types of girls there. And in our culture, and all over the world, if you're straight, man love woman. So I'm just thinking, like, you know what, save myself the heartache, end it right now. I have CXCs coming up. I need to be in a good headspace. And knowing how much I valued our relationship, the value I placed on it would be just as equal or greater if there was any hurt involved.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play it safe, even though it's completely wrong. I wanted to play it safe and dissolve everything so that I could have a smooth year and not have anything to worry about. Because, I'm going from seeing you every day, having lunch with you. Now you're in a whole new environment. Who knows? Is he going to be faithful to me?
Yeah.
So that was it.
But you know what? You should have. It should have been easy for you to tell, because you know how much attention I used to get in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And I stayed
Yo,
faithful
girls used
all
to
through
not
that.
like me because of you.
Yeah, and I stayed faithful all
True.
through that. So you should have known, as the song says, little is much when God is in it. If I was faithful to you, getting that much attention, and I know the attention level would have been on steroids, but of course, because as I mentioned, um, I was in my pastor era where
Yeah.
I wanted to maintain a certain level of standard, and I wanted my character to be of such where when people see me, they either don't like me because
You stand for what you say
I
you
stand
stand
for
for.
what I believe in, or when they see me, they say there goes a child of God.
Yes.
So even when I got on campus, I didn't know that theologians had a bad reputation. When I went there,
Ooh.
I learned a lot, and I learned that there were theologians being involved in so many wrong things.
Yes.
And I said, there was one thing I said to myself when I went on campus. I said that I'm going to be one theologian that comes to Northern Caribbean University, and not one girl will be able to say, I slept with them, or I said something inappropriately to them, or I asked them for sex, or anything of the sort. And I left there, and I can say, I can hold my head up high
That's
and
good.
say that for a fact, that there is no girl at Northern Caribbean University at the moment when I was going there can say that about me. So I held my head up high.
Yeah.
And one thing about me, I love to prove people wrong.
Oh.
So if you say something about me, I want to prove you wrong. And if there's a particular reputation, a negative reputation about something I am involved in, I want to be the one that stands
The
out.
exception.
That's just me.
Yes.
Just like I'm an exception of someone from a single parent household, I am an exception. So I love to prove people wrong. So I had no doubt that if we had maintained a relationship, I wouldn't at no point in time thought about or even wanted to cheat on you, because what you need to understand, my love, is that you complete me, right? And because of that very fact, there was not a fiber in my being that wanted anyone else but you.
So after our relationship ended,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Well,
I mentioned.
before you go there, could you talk about? I don't want you to lose your point, but I wanted you to talk about. We were going through that breakup phase. What was happening, like with mommy?
Oh, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
while we were going through that phase, that fight was humongous.
It was
It was so
huge. It
bad.
was huge.
It was so bad,
Because I
and
was
I
that
don't
jealous
even.
boyfriend.
Yeah, rightfully so. I was talking to. I was having a conversation
Mm-hmm.
with my cousin's
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just talking because he was going through. We were outside, and we were. He was just telling me what's going on in his relationship, and I'm telling him, "Yo, this is going on in my relationship." Literally venting, like literally just venting, right? Because he's so in love with her, and things just not working out,
Mm-hmm.
and you somehow passed by with some kerchief on your head. I remember that night you had something on your head
I
passing
don't
by.
remember what.
I remember even telling him like, "Hey, look, why is he doing that? Like, we're not even together anymore." And no,
Mm-hmm.
I yeah, we I think we were in that wonky stage
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it wasn't established. I think the fight, the
The fact
argument was what
was a breaking point.
was the breaking point that
Mm-hmm.
finally severed, and clicked in my mind that it's over.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking, and I saw you pacing back and forth on the campus as we were talking, and I was telling him, I was literally telling him, he's probably thinking we are together. Can you think how stupid that is? And I was just so upset. I was upset, I was upset, I was confused, I was insecure,
Mm-hmm.
just all those that ball of emotions. And I remember after the fight, mommy said something to me like we even say today all the time, verbatim. You two are practicing divorce.
You are
You are
practicing
practicing.
divorce.
What is going to happen to those children? Those two children? And I
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the moment as a young
You
person,
were just angry.
I was just angry. I was just angry. And I don't even know what I was angry for, because I can't say our relationship dissolved because it was just stupid. Because even when we had that big conversation, which we will talk about,
Mm-hmm.
even when we had that big conversation, we could not pinpoint what the issue was.
Yeah. Yeah.
We couldn't pinpoint it.
It was like we were so in love, but we were so young, we weren't able to navigate
You
the
know?
responsibilities that came with our relationship.
Yes. And someone rightfully said we had the right love,
But at the wrong
but at the
time.
wrong time. And I want to ask a question, because I really want to know where, eventually you were studying ministerial, pastoral, what is it called?
Pastoral ministry.
Pastoral ministry at NCU
Mm-hmm.
for some time. And then you got married a hot second or a couple, years after I, yes.
It wasn't a
After.
hot second.
It's like
It wasn't a hot
it's
second.
something with these theologians. They believe that they have to be in a relationship in order to be
Well, the
reputable.
Bible says that Paul says that it's better to marry than to burn.
Okay, so you can't be like Paul.
We have to recognize where our weaknesses lies.
You got married, and I remember my whole fifth form year.
Mm-hmm.
I
wasn't
you were in a relationship. You were engaged,
right? But you thought that I was.
I thought you were married,
Yeah.
and I remember just like in my senior year of high school, I have two great friends, or had two great friends,
Mm-hmm.
that we would walk from Victor Dixon High School all the way up to Mandeville Town
Mm-hmm.
some days, and I would just talk their ears off about, I can't believe he's getting married. Why is he even getting married? He can't even do this. He can't even do that. And I was so angry and frustrated and annoyed at the fact that you were getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so faithful. They just listened to me.
Yeah.
They were just my ears. And sometimes we'd pass by that place where you had lived at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of my friends lived around that area, and we'd pass by, and I'm like, yeah, he's probably living there with his wife. I just had this like weird. I was young, and you got married pretty quickly, in my opinion. To move on, it was pretty quick. And then after that, go ahead.
No, finish your point.
Yes. In my mind, I thought you were married.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it even hurt more, because I thought that, see, darn, our relationship just ended. And this is he's moved on. Even if it's a year, 2 years. Our relationship spanned 2 years, about roughly
Right.
2 years.
2 years.
Right? Before the breakup and the migration, right?
Right.
So in my heart, it was just like annoying.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing about it too, so for one, you thought that I was married, but I wasn't married until, I don't even remember at what point I got into that relationship, because I remember I was at NCU for a while before I actually got into a relationship. And then I got into that relationship, we got engaged, and after we got engaged, we got married like 2 years after.
Wow.
So that was
it was a while.
It was a while.
And I want you to, I remember you came to, before you got married.
While I was I think it was
while you were still engaged, not married yet.
It wasn't while I was engaged. It was, we were just dating at the time.
No. Oh yeah, we were just dating at the time.
Yeah.
Yes. While you were dating at the time, you had come to where we were living.
Was I
to visit
engaged?
mommy, or just planning to get married.
I don't remember. Maybe I was engaged at the time.
I don't know what it was.
But mommy had asked me to come by.
Yes, and you came by, and I was still in my senior year of high school. And how did you have like a vivid memory of how that story went? Because I just, came home and I went straight to my room.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I went down to see mommy, and I even remember when I got the call and I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna see my mom," because mommy was mommy to me, whether or not we were together.
Yeah.
So I said, "I'm gonna see my mom," and she didn't feel good about it. But I said, "Hey, look, This is the one woman came into my life at a moment when I needed it the most. And from the moment she came, she has been to me nothing less than a mother, a very good mother. So whether or not, I'm with my ex, which was you at the time, she's gonna be my mother forever.
Mhm.
And of course, I went down, I saw her, we spoke, and she just wanted to know how I was doing, how I was handling the breakup between us. And, you know, I was leaving. And then when I was leaving, you came home immediately. And I was standing at the door. Remember, the couch was just right there and the door. I was stepping out. You was coming in. So I stepped aside and you came in. And you just came in, you walked by, you said nothing, and you went straight to your room. And I was standing there for a few minutes because there was somewhere within me that was just hoping that you would say something to me, that you would talk to me. And you never did. And if you had done that, the whole trajectory of my life, it would have changed my mindset as it relates to getting married. Because I was so in love with you. You practically shaped my entire worldview of the woman I wanted to be with. So if you had spoken to me that day, for sure, it would have changed how my life projected forward.
Yes, and a lot of times when we would talk about this, because we've talked about our love story a million times, I'd feel so sad, even sometimes tear up and start crying because I'm like, my God, had we had that conversation, things would have been so different.
Right.
I feel like a lot of the time that has passed and the years that was, I wouldn't want to say wasted because there are lessons in the tragedies,
Yeah.
but it could have been avoided.
Could have been
And
avoided.
it just hurts because I decided that pride, the pride in me was shutting me up, and I didn't say anything. And had I said something, our lives would have gone completely different.
Completely different for sure. We don't want to touch too much into it because
Okay.
we're going to do a complete whole episode.
Okay.
And why did I stay married?
Why did I get married?
Why did I stay married?
Why did I stay married?
And
why did I get divorced?
So we want to we want
We need to
say
say that again. Say that again. We're gonna do a whole episode on why did I stay married and why did I get divorced.
So we want to save the deep intricacies
Yes.
for that particular episode.
Yes.
So you guys tune into that episode right after this one, where you can get to hear about our story, why we got married,
why we stayed married,
and
why we got divorced.
And of course, we know that it comes with its own share of scrutiny, but hey, guess what?
Welcome.
This is the world and what it is, so we are prepared for that.
Yes.
But yeah, so fast forward to
I migrated.
You migrated, and I think that contributed to me getting involved into a relationship, so quickly. Even though I don't know you, I think it was some time, but it contributed to it because I was like, okay, we're broken up. She's not talking to me. I really don't know how to have a conversation.
Yeah, and then
with
you had mentioned at one point when I came home and I said nothing to you, even though you were hoping that I would, it cemented in your mind that this is over. You had shared that with me at one point.
It cemented in my mind that this is over. And also looking at the fact that you were migrating, it was like, okay, it's
There's
a
no
lost
hope,
cause.
yeah.
There was no hope, So from that, I got married.
Yes.
And the last time we saw each other would have been in 2012 or 2013.
2013.
And then you migrated and I never saw you again.
Never saw me again. 2012 or 2013. One of those years, late 2012 or early 2013.
Yeah.
And because I migrated mid-year 2013.
Yeah. So that was the last time I saw you.
Until 2019. 2019. We had, I had to fly out for my sister's funeral.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I had to fly out for that event,
Mm-hmm.
and you were gonna be there. And you know, honestly, it was a sad event. It was a very sad event, but knowing that I was gonna see you
Mm-hmm.
made it bearable. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I had something to look forward to, so I didn't have to cry the whole time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That
how
was
was that for you?
that was crazy. Like 13 years, there was no doubt that you were my first love.
Hmm.
And there was no doubt that when you left, you literally took a piece of my heart with you because that hole was still in my heart. But as I said, I didn't know how to deal with that. And I was still married. And of course, there was never any moment where we shared something inappropriate with each other, whether it was a conversation or anything like that. So for 13 years, not seeing you, how did I feel? I, it was like, man, this girl she's my first love. Um, I just didn't know how to feel. It was a mixture of everything.
Yeah, because we were there for a funeral, so
Yeah.
it was a
So it was a
lot going
mixture
on.
of it was a mixture of everything.
So it was a mix of feelings, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like being happy to see me,
Mm-hmm.
happy, you know, me happy to see you,
Right.
but the event also being a somber one because our sister passed,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So that in itself, there was a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
But what struck me about us reuniting or seeing each other for the first time after 2013,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years.
Well, that was a long time.
It's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
6 years of not seeing each other to seeing each other just randomly at the funeral. It just went by so fast. It's
It
like I
did.
saw
It
you, we
did.
greeted, you know, we drove to the burial site, and then you were gone. It was like literally, I think we spent about maybe 15 to 20 minutes
Mm-hmm.
together.
Yeah.
And I remember going home after the funeral, and
There was a little bit of
I
sadness.
was sad.
Yeah.
Not just because my sister passed, but I knew what we share
Mm-hmm.
or shared, and I knew it wasn't anything that time could just dissolve. That's
Right.
one thing about our relationship. It's that even after years of us not even communicating or being distant,
Mm-hmm. It
I
was like you
still
see that one person and you just
it's
know
just
that
that one person.
I should have been with this
It's just that one
person,
person. And, and
Yeah.
and we have to do a talk on this. How many people are there that are living their lives
Mm-hmm.
still thinking about that one person,
That
and that
one
one
person,
person
yeah.
is still thinking about them,
Yeah. That's
you
crazy.
know?
Yeah.
And you know, we talked about in our first shoot, like Chris Brown and
And
Rihanna.
Rihanna, yeah, we talk
I
about Chris
remember
Brown and
hearing
Rihanna.
that song for the first time,
Residual,
Residual,
yeah.
and I'm like, yo, and we listened to it the first time, and then you started
I
listening to it,
watched
and
the
you're
video.
like, you watched the video, and you're like, no, it's almost like you went into like
I
slight
was like,
depression.
I was
You're
like,
like,
what?
babe, this is sad.
Yeah, I was saying that
Yo, this
no
is
way. Yeah, I
sad. This
said,
is
yo,
sad.
this girl looks exactly like Rihanna because I know Rihanna has the brown eyes, and then the dress and everything, and just listening to you, because that is the thing, right? When you are in love with someone, especially when that person is your first love,
Mm,
I don't think that it's never something that you ever get over.
I personally don't
And
think
I
so.
don't think that you ever move on from it. Because the thing is, when it comes to women, I think that women, they are a little bit more emotional than a man, where they will sit and they will wait and they will hope. And even in cases that, I'll leave you to talk about that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But from me and my experience, and from what I even see with Chris Brown, is that as men, we sometimes feel as though, okay, she was my first love, but I can replace her. I can find someone exactly like her, who looks like her, makes me feel the same way how she used to makes me feel. And that's what creates that line of a relationship where you're with this person, you're not feeling the same way, or you're not finding your first love, so you might jump to the next person. Oh, she's not here, so you jump to the next person. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but in reality, I think for us men is that we try to find the love of our lives, the first love, in the women we will go on dating. And 9 times out of 10, if the woman is not there, we will move on in search for her in someone else. Wow. So it can be very, very detrimental to a man, and to our health, emotionally, when we fall in love with our first love, and then you break that up, and you never get to see that person again. It's like, and as I always tell you this, that when you left, it was like you left with a piece of my heart, and that hole was constantly there, never being filled. It doesn't matter who I was with, so it's a sad thing.
It's a sad thing. And I can say that for it's one thing if one person feels this way. I love this person, and the feeling is not mutual. But when the feeling is mutual, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
I just remember how much, I would move on. I'd have, different dating experiences, but you were always my point of reference. I'd always think back, what if, not trying to get these guys to measure up to you, but I always, no matter where I was, no matter how contented I may have seemed, in my heart of hearts and in my mind, in my being, in my soul, it was always you who I wanted to be with. No matter where I was in the world, no matter what dating experience I was having, I was always thinking back at you and what we had and thinking, what if? And sometimes I'd wonder to myself, oh my gosh, this love is so deep. Is it a soul tie? Is it this? Is it that? I was trying to define it when it was just deeper than the physical world.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's one thing for me to feel that way on one hand, but you're feeling the same way.
Yeah.
I desire you as much as you desire me.
Years.
And for years.
And we would never.
And we never talk about it. Never had a conversation.
We never had.
It was just like, hey, Happy New Year. How are you doing? Good. All right, bye.
It was always these moments when we would talk. I would share my church experience. Oh, I preach a sermon today.
Yeah, check it out. We're talking about everything but that.
Everything, but we never crossed any boundaries. And even to the point when I got divorced, when you got separated, we never had that conversation about how we truly felt.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. And it took mommy. It took her
like,
to
y'all
say,
need to talk about this.
Yeah, because she would see how detrimental it was for you after your divorce. What I got into affected you, and she would see that. And of course, even after that, even after everything, there were moments when I would just wake up out of bed. These are the things that I would say in my mind. I just feel like I should just go get married to Ebonique and live out the rest of my days with her and just be happy. Because for me, it's like no one could fill that hole inside of me except you. That void that I felt after a relationship. It was like a man on a hunt for year. You were just searching for year, and wherever.
What's year?
Like the year.
The air. That's why.
The year,
I love your accent. I love it.
We were searching for year. Like a man on a mission searching for year, and you just don't know.
You can't grab it.
You can't grab it.
Yeah.
And even if you think you find it, it's not it.
Yeah.
So that was what it was. And
wow.
Well, today, thank God, we are here.
Yeah.
Thanks to God first, and of course, mommy.
Yes.
And for years, mommy has been saying, children
must listen to their parents.
And, and the truth is,
we could have avoided all of this
if we had listened to her, we would have avoided all of this.
And I would have never gotten married. You would have never gotten married.
Yeah.
You know, so many things would have been different.
So many things would have been different. But here comes 2025.
5.
And, you know, I was living my life somewhere in the States. You living
my
your
life somewhere in the States.
You know, and I remember reaching out to mommy on New Year's Day. Hey, mommy, Happy New Year's. And I asked for you because you had blocked me because you wanted me to come down to do a podcast session. But at the time, I wasn't in the right mental space. And so I was doing my thing, and I was just not in the right mental space. I just felt like I couldn't pour into what you wanted us to do at the time because I was empty. And there was a lot going on. As I said, I wasn't well mentally.
And you had just gotten out of a relationship.
And I just gotten out of a relationship. So I was going through that healing phase, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think I took a long time to respond to you.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking,
And you
okay,
blocked
you know,
me.
he probably just doesn't want to take the trip. That's fine. Can we just do like a Zoom call? The guy didn't even respond to me. So I'm like, okay. And you know, I feel like people find time for what they wanted to find time for. But yeah, since you you know, you expressed it
Yeah,
that you know
mentally,
you weren't
man,
in a,
I wasn't in a good space. I just wasn't in a good space at all. And it's not even about the breakup. It was more so about my life, where I was in my life at the time. I was just not in a good place. I was not well mentally. I was going through it. I was having that continuous, and I have to use the word continuous, Job experience, because my life is so reflective of that of Job sometimes, you know. But that's the reason. So you blocked me.
Yeah, and it might sound really bad that I just blocked you like that, but I feel like I would go through those phases where it would be like how are you, Happy New Year, Happy Sabbath, random messages like maybe once a year or twice a year.
But we did have good talks.
We used to have good talks every now and then. But I just knew in my heart that I wanted more. And I saw no way of that happening.
Well, let's talk about, as you mentioned.
And that's why, you know, my safe place was to just, you know, just shut it down right now, because this is not gonna happen. Even while I was divorced.
Something?
What?
Shut it down right now.
What?
Disconnect it right now.
What? No.
High school.
What is that?
When you shut it off because you didn't want to deal with a potential heartbreak.
Yeah, but you know, and of course I've gotten, you know, I've learned better ways of handling stuff, and I was going through my healing process, you know, as well. But I always knew that I love this man, and I believe that God had to purify the desires I had towards you to this point where I love you even if it's not me that you're gonna be with. And that, I think that's a treasure for our relationship at this point.
You know what? I remember when I was in that relationship after my divorce, and you had asked me if I think, what was the question? You asked me if I think that there
was any hope of us ever being
you
together.
Asked me if there was any hope of us ever being together.
I went out on a limb to ask that question.
And I don't remember what my exact response was, but I remember I told you that I'm involved in this relationship and I just wanted to be faithful throughout the process. And the thing is, I was on a change path where the life I once lived, I never wanted to live that life anymore. I never wanted to repeat that life. I wanted to be the faithful partner. Whether it was boyfriend, relationship, I
Yes, you just
wanted to
wanted to
be
be faithful.
faithful.
You know, the way you put that though, make it seem like, say, I was some hindrance or some
Oh
sort,
no, you
and you were,
weren't. But
yeah,
I
because
was
that
no, of
wasn't the
course you
case.
weren't.
Okay.
Because remember you asked the question if there was a possibility.
Yeah, because I knew that you were,
In a
based on
right.
our biblical beliefs,
Mhm.
you're divorced, and I'm divorced. So
Right.
then,
Right.
anything,
Right.
if it's a girlfriend, it's not a marriage. So,
Yeah.
so
So, but I didn't want to just run away, leave that, and then boom. Because I know, I knew that I wanted to be with you, but I never wanted it to be done on any level where someone would look at me and say, "Oh, look, he left me to go be with her." And
that's
at the
true.
time, and at the moment when you had asked me as well, there was a lot of challenges. So was there potential? Of course, there was a possibility because we, as I said, we had a lot of challenges that did not seem as though we would have ended up at that place, and for many reasons, and thank God that didn't happen. But I just wanted to be true to that purpose and faithful, and so I did. And after we broke up, I went through my healing phase. We were having conversations, good, healthy conversations. You were going through your healing phase.
And I told him, I don't want no man. I don't want any
Right.
man.
You told me that, oh, you don't want. But at the same time, there was something keeping me back from having that conversation, and you and I know what that was, because I didn't want you to think that was what it was.
Yeah.
But here, 2025 came, and I had prayed 4 prayers, five?
Five.
5 prayers. I prayed for a car,
Some money.
some money. I prayed for
To get off that island.
I prayed to get off that island. I prayed
To get married.
One other thing. I don't remember what it was. But I remember God answered all 4. But the last one was to get married. And that prayer was supposed to be should have been answered in 2024. However, I think I delayed the answer to that prayer. And so I was there. I said, well, God, you answered 4 of the part of the things I asked you for. So I'm just going to wait patiently for one. And 2025 came. I said, how is Ebony doing? And mommy said, oh, she's at this place. You call her. And I called you, didn't get you. And I said to my best friend, I said to Ricky, yo, shout out to Ricky. Shout out to Ricky, my boy. I said to Ricky, yo, it seems like Ebony blocked me. And I'm saying, so I was there, and I'm saying, man. So I texted you, didn't go through. And I said, okay, cool. She probably blocked me for sure.
Yeah.
Then the next day, I think I contacted you, or a few days after that, I contacted you, and you responded. And that was one of those mornings when I got up and I was just having that feeling again, constant feeling that I've been having for a very long time, to just get married to you and just live out the rest of my days being happy. And so I asked you that same question,
almost a year after.
Do you think, yeah, I said, do you think that at this juncture of our life, it's a possibility for us to rekindle our love for each other? And you said yes. And I said, okay. I said, yeah.
Like, no questions there. Like, absolutely.
And you would ask, how should we go about it? Should we date? And I said yes, given the context of modern day dating and what that means.
And honestly, I didn't want to be with you,
You did?
I wanted to, but I didn't want to because... And that's something that we're going to have to cover in that other video.
Wait.
Because, after, and that's something we'll cover in that video. Why did I stay married and why did I get divorced? Because a lot of trauma built up, which kept me from even initiating the conversation when I wanted to. So even while you were thinking about it, I was thinking about it. But the trauma kept me from actually having that conversation.
Right.
And that's something that we're going to have to delve into
Yes.
in that other discussion.
But of course, I asked, and it was a resounding yes.
Yes.
And so I was excited, I was happy. And I remember we talked, and it was like when you ask about dating, I was like, okay, dating, yeah. But then within the modern day context, I was thinking about it. And I said, yeah, we don't need to date. We know each other. You know, even though we haven't been around each other for 13 years, it was like it was like, come on.
Yeah, like what are you dating about? What do you need to know? Like,
so we talked. I told you that of course I want to date you for as long as I live.
Yes.
Whether married or not. But we spoke, we talk about marriage, and I was even surprised when you had mentioned what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
You know, we have been waiting for years. Let's just get this thing out of the way.
You know, so many people don't get to experience this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's sad.
It is. It is. It's crazy. And then we were listening to Residual. We were both happy. Yes. I was really, really happy. I remember when I walked in the living room, because me and Ricky, we were living in the same apartment at the time. And I said, yo, I'm going to get married to Ebonique. And he said, he said, good stuff, that boy. Yeah, Ricky said it was good stuff.
Yeah. And also,
we were excited.
When... were people encouraging you or discouraging you from who to choose as a partner? If so...
Well, the thing about me is that I live my life publicly but privately at the same time. And somebody might say that that's not possible. But the thing is, whatever I put on social media about my life, you know, I post my gym stuff, I might post a video of me going out or stuff like that. That's just what I want people to know. But there's a lot about my life that people don't know.
Yes.
And like when it came to the more important things about my life, that's something that Ricky would know. Mm-hmm. You know, so no one could come to say to me like, you know, I don't think that you should date this girl, or I don't think this is the right girl for you, because that's something that I don't allow for people to do. You know, not even when I'm in a relationship, no one would come to me to say something to me about my relationship, because that's just how I live my life, in such a way where people know that just I'm not the kind of guy who you will just walk up to say something to about any aspect of my life. You just don't have that right.
Yeah.
Unless I put you inside of that circle.
I'm asking because I remember at some points where we'd have our little conversations. You'd say that, you know, so-and-so is telling me to go ahead, we should do this. And I'm getting the same advice. Where
family was concerned.
Where family is concerned.
So that's different. So they are in that
inner circle. Yeah.
You know, so.
You know, our family knew us. They knew that we made a big mistake.
Mommy was happy.
Everybody was happy. Even our friends on Facebook. Like,
Mommy seems like she was more happy.
She seemed like she was the one who got married.
I was
so like,
happy.
this person is so...
Yeah, she was posting her pictures on her WhatsApp.
Yes, every day it was a new picture. She was so happy. My aunts, my dad, everybody is so happy for us.
People knew
because they
know.
They knew you. They knew me. And they knew us together. And they knew what we had.
Right. And they also knew what you went through.
And they also knew what I went through.
So that was a huge deal for everybody. And I think everybody knew that even 2019, the looks on our face when we were being separated, even though we didn't say anything to anybody, people could just naturally see that these two are madly in love and they just don't know what to do at this point.
My aunt said she just still remembers the look on your face. Mm-hmm. She said it's almost like he's happy, but he's sad at the same time, because she came all the way from the States and now she's leaving. And we didn't even get to spend some time together. She's like, that look on your face was priceless. She said she never said it to anybody, but she saw it and she knew, like, you know, you were thinking about a lot and you were sad. You were happy to have seen me, but you were sad that, you know, as soon as she came and she's just gone, you know? Yeah. And she's seeing it, then everybody else is seeing it, because everybody knew about our relationship. And also the love. Now that we're together, all of that, twists and turns. Now that we're together,
after 13 years,
after 13 plus years, don't forget the plus. It wasn't just 13 years flat.
It was like the wilderness experience.
Right from 2013, 2012, 2013 to 2020 to 2025.
2025. That's a long time.
2025. Yeah. 2013 to 2025. Do the math.
That's a long time.
It's a while. And the love and the connection has remained the same, even though the communication was so crappy,
Yeah, the communication was crappy.
Meaning crappy in the sense that we weren't even... It was so on and off. Hey, hi, bye.
But every time we connected, we would have very good, healthy,
meaningful conversations. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I admired about you the most, your intellectual capacity. And it's something that I truly admired about you up to today. Your ability to just have those deep conversations and have those deep discussions on almost any topic that you choose.
And even after so many years, we recently got married, and our friends on Facebook, how can I even, wrap up our love story without mentioning how much love and congratulations and support we've been getting from our Facebook friends, much of whom are people from our high school that saw our relationship, whether they're professors or colleagues, people that saw our relationship and they're like, finally, you deserve this. Family and friends. And I just want to say thank you so much for the love. Thank you for the support, the congratulations, and everything. We really appreciate the support.
Yes. Yeah. We really, it's the love and warmth that we feel from everybody.
Yeah.
About us being married, like it's finally a dream come true.
It's a dream come true.
It's a dream come true, and I'm happy. We're happy, and we are so thankful that God has restored unto us, as our mother would say,
the years that the locust stole.
Has stolen.
No more. Yeah, no more will I have to think and wonder what if.
Yeah.
This is not, now my brain can rest. I'm finally with you.
Finally complete. Yeah.
Well, but wrap up, baby. Wrap up.
All right, guys. We just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We are happy that we were able to share this story with you all. And we truly hope that this is inspiring for someone or for individuals out there who were at that place in their lives where they would have met their true love, that first love that you had. And you might be at a point in your life where you just don't know how to have that conversation. My encouragement is, our encouragement is, just go and have it.
Have that talk.
Let it happen. Find a way to make it happen. And I would say this, it's best to have that conversation.
And nothing comes of it.
And nothing comes of it than to not have it.
The regret.
The regret that you feel like it's not a good feeling.
And the time wasted.
Wasted.
Yes.
So we're just hoping that our love story can truly inspire people to just go have that talk, and find your true love wherever they are and have that talk. That's my encouragement. That's our encouragement. Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back with another episode.
Yes.
What's the topic?
Why did I stay married? And why did I get Why did I stay married? And why did I get divorced?
So go over there, check that video out. That video should be up right now. Thank you guys for tuning in. We want you to like, subscribe, share this video. Stay tuned. We have a lot more to talk about, a lot more topics that we want to dive into.
If you like our content, we are also available on Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook. Show us some love over there. Unfiltered Heart Talks.